Yes, you have. Okie dokie. Welcome, everybody, to the meeting of Haverhill Town Council's Community Events Working Party. Noting that any decisions made have to be ratified by the Leisure and Community Committee. Oh, there he is. Right. Apologies for absence, please.
Sorry, James, you want to do that bit?
Okay, we've had apologies from Councillor Hanlon, and that's it.
Great, thank you, Chair. Right, declarations of interest, requests for dispensations from anybody, please. Can't see any. Okay, item 4, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 17th of April. You got them available, Colin? Right, assume you've all read them. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Lucarini, seconder, please. Anybody? Councillor Davidson, sorry. Yeah, thanks, Laura, I got that. All right, all those in favour, please show. Lovely. Thanks, Laura, again. Okay. And paper. Matters arising from that thing that are not on the agenda. But we were talking about all this anyway. The only thing it mentions is the Suffolk Community FHA circulation of workshop details. Sarah, that one? You're muted.
Which one do you mean, sorry?
The dates of the, I know it's gone out on social media, but did we distribute it to, I don't remember seeing it.
It's posted on the Arts Centre Facebook a lot, so you can look at that, but I can read them out if you like now.
No, don't worry. Can you just
I've got a JPEG, so when I'm
send it off afterwards if you wouldn't mind, please. In fact, send it to all councillors, not just members of the working party.
Okay.
Well, it's a lot easier doing that. Thank you. Right, public speaking. Any members of the public here, Colin?
No.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Right, so we're going to go straight on to Steve Marsh, who's sat there for Haverhill in the Park. The idea behind this is just to get an update of where we stand, as it's about 5 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go, whatever it is, 5 weeks, to the event starts, and just give us an update where we are, what's happening. We're not going into war and peace on this. It's just purely just to get a feel about where we are, and for members to, and anybody else for that matter, to ask questions. Steve, do you want to go ahead?
Hello everyone.
Oh.
Basically, yeah, as John said, this is a recap to let you know exactly where we are with the event. Most things, if not everything, is all in place now, or there's just the final touches there to come in. In terms of all of our infrastructure for the event is all in place. The program has literally within this week just finished coming together. Hopefully you've all seen the initial outline of the headline acts that went out a week and a half ago. Got some three different acts across the weekend to give, hopefully, if everyone agrees, it will be something for everyone across the entire weekend. There's 3 different styles of music, with the Friday being like based around an alternative an alternative rock sort of thing. Saturday being a get up and dance and enjoy yourselves, and Sunday being again like last year, giving us a bit of a chill out, leading up into a nice finish with a Commitments tribute of soul, 1950s and 60s soul music in the form of a Commitments tribute act. I'll start off by asking, is there any questions on those headliners that you want to ask at all?
Not that I know they are, but yeah, maybe anyone got any queries, questions?
No.
Okay, no, go ahead.
No, okay. So very much like last year, program wise, I've tried to follow a something for everyone program. So obviously splitting up, as I just said, there's 3 different themes to finish each day. But then those main headline acts that have been advertised will then be supported by either local original artists or local community arts groups, much like last year where we had the dance groups and the performing arts groups. Will be doing a similar thing to that again this year. It's the Saturday afternoon, again, is based around all of your performing arts. So we'll be starting off the Saturday afternoon with some of the local dance schools, going into Centre Stage Company dance school. We've got a feature of our open mic, one of our performers from the open mic here at the Arts Centre. That will then lead into local bands, which will ramp up, hopefully, in quality to take us to our headliner in the evening. And then Sunday goes into a more relaxed day, starting off with a bit of jazz. Two different forms of jazz. I've got local artist Jay Dono starting the day off. We'll go into Hannah Horton's quintet, like what she's doing this Swinging Cat Jazz Club at the Arts Centre. So that will form that starting day of the Sunday. Originally, it was going to be Linton Jazz Band. As I had the Haverhill Silver Band last year, I thought I'd give a different brass band this year. But unfortunately, they weren't able to fill all their musician seats, so I had to swap that one out. But Hannah should be obviously just as good in that area. And then that will lead into some Americana blues music, and the return of the Suffolk Slappers from last year, who a lot of the comments that we got from our public that attended said that they needed longer, and they were a last minute replacement last year. So this year I delivered and gave them a longer slot. I didn't mention the Friday. The Friday is all based around the alternate sort of rock scene for that one, because it's something that we've never really done in the years I've been working with the town council, 15 years on the tribute nights and things, and the style that I've gone for on that particular night is not anything that we've really done. So I thought we'd give that a go, as there is a bit of an alternative audience in town, and the Faux Fighters advertisement seems to have brought a bit of traction, so hopefully that will go down quite well. Moving on to, let's say, where would you like me to go next, John?
Well, I was just going to ask you, I know you mentioned about the Silver Band.
Yes.
And another resource, which is what Thurlow Fair uses, is Hadstock Silver Band.
Yes.
Who are based just up the road in, just by Linton. They're very good as well. So
yes, I agree with if they are. Yeah,
another resource.
I didn't want to go exact brass band for brass band this year, which is why I chose to go for a big.
No, I'm just thinking of timings and resources more than.
It was more a case of just so that we didn't get a copy and paste, like an absolute copy and paste of last year and having the same stuff. So I just wanted to keep it a little bit different.
Okay.
Laura.
Right. Yeah. Laura. Excellent. Laura.
I think we should insist that our mayor perform in his band, as he's the mayor. I think it would be very selfish of him not to.
While I agree with you on that one, it's a little bit too late now in terms of where the program's at, unfortunately.
And isn't his band based in Dartford or somewhere?
Yeah, it's somewhere miles away, but I just still think it would be great if he did it like in his mayor stuff, but anyway.
You could do a solo.
Yeah, we should make him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to the town clerk about that one.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I have any spaces open up.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I don't think we can. Perhaps we can copy Brian May on top of Buckingham Palace and have the mayor on top of the bandstand, with guitar playing. I just wanted to say to councillors that Steve briefed Gary, Sarah, and I on the lineup, and I think it's worth noting for the minutes. And we were impressed. You actually, Steve mentioned it's not a copy and paste, but also it's not just the kind of collect a load of bands and drop them into the various slots. There's an awful lot of thought gone into this. I appreciate that Steve's got a lot of experience from Pin Jam and all the rest of it, but really impressed with the lineup he's managed to get. And I'm sure it will be another really, really great event as a result. So I particularly want to note thanks to Steve for doing a really thoughtful job on putting together that programme.
Well, Steve and I have actually spoken about this. I'm just thinking of my age group. Us olds.
Is Cousin Dave still available?
Hopefully, with the way I've pulled it together, there should, like last year, there should be something for everyone. I hope, and that's what I've intended.
It's what it is. It's more the fact is not understanding the base act, if you like. Like your Foo Fighters one. I don't listen to the Foo Fighters personally. I'm sure others do, but that's fine. Anyway, no, that's fine. That's fine. So, Steve, have we got any that you're keeping back as a surprise or anything like that?
No, not so much.
No.
It's at the moment I'm in the process of putting together graphics and working with Al to come up with a schedule to put things out.
Okay.
The next thing to go will be advertising who are the main support and the support acts for those headline acts, and then we'll slowly release the rest of the program.
Okay.
By the end of this month, hopefully.
Okay, that's fine. Laura?
I just wanted to second what Colin said. It sounds brilliant, Steve. Well done. It's very impressive.
Thank you. I've managed to, following on from last year as well, we had 16. I think I just counted. It was 15 or 16 acts last year, and this year I've got 19. So I've managed to squeeze some more in.
Okay.
So
well done. Well, you and I have spoken about this anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah. And budget-wise, if you're interested, in terms of the acts, as I break down the budget, last year I broke the budget down for the acts to a group total of 7,000 for all acts, and this year I pulled that down to 6.6, and I'm currently at 6.4. So I'm within budget on the acts at the moment, which is good.
Okay. Can I ask Colin or Sarah? The amount of money that was granted to us by Redrow, with a deadline to apply for it and everything, presumably we've done that? Because that was...
It was per Persimmon.
No, Redrow was...
I thought you'd done the Redrow one.
I organised it all, but it needs something from the town council to contact them before somebody went on their maternity leave.
I haven't done that.
Sorry, that's a blank with me as well. I know the Persimmon one.
Well, you remember this, Steve, don't you?
I remember, yeah, you sent an email about it quite a while back.
I don't mind at this stage. If I don't mind taking that on board, and if I have the details, I can say.
Well, I don't know whether she I don't know who's organising it now, because the lady was going on holiday, and I sent a message on the 10th of March.
I can only try and get to them, rather make a solution and get in touch with them. If we don't ask them, we won't find out. So if someone wants to pass me the details.
Okay, well, this is supposed to be all organised and paid and everything else.
If I find the original email, Gary, I'll forward that to you for you to chase it.
Okay, I can do that tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll view that.
9th of March, I sent the original email.
Okay, right, 9th of March. I'll look for that, and then before I leave here today, I'll forward that on to you, Gary.
Okay.
It was the
And hope-
persimmon one as well, which we were going to
Sarah
apply
will-
for.
Sarah was dealing with that one. Sarah wrote an application for it a couple of weeks ago, I believe. Is that right, Sarah?
Well, it was probably more like a month ago or
Okay.
6 weeks ago, something like that.
Have you had any response at all?
We haven't heard back, no.
Okay. All right. As I said, every little bit helps, as they say.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's
That
been a with the way of cost of living and the way the prices of everything have gone up this year. It's certainly been a penny pinching exercise, shall we say?
Yeah.
Did you want me to talk about the budget now?
Well,
You know where we are.
I don't necessarily, unless members want to question, but I don't think there's any point in asking specifics at this stage. You know what the budget is, and
Yeah.
if you think you're doing okay, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, we'll wait. Let's wait till the post once it's done, and we'll can review it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to keep as tight to the overall one as possible. With the expected return of some sponsorship, it is slightly over the original set budget that was set in February. But obviously that's because I thought we had that expected Red Row funding as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully we have. I don't think they're going to renegade on it. I'm just thinking that we haven't just applied for it. That's all.
Not to mention that we should get some return from our catering stands with the
Okay.
commission basis and everything.
All right. Unless anyone wants to speak about budgets at all. Shaking heads. Right.
No.
Carry on, Steve.
Okay. So yep, we've covered acts and things. I said the infrastructure. So all of the site infrastructure that we hire in for the event for it to be possible to happen. Without this stuff, we can't do it. All of that that must have been set in place since about May time, April, May. So it's all booked in. All the dates are there. And one of the things that we've paid the deposits that we need to pay. They're all cleared. Everything is set. I've checked with all of the different offices to make sure that our dates are in the diary and that everything will arrive as planned. And that's all good as of current. I will do towards the end of this month, I will do a chaser email to all of our different contractors just to make sure that we are absolutely 100% set. To be honest, I've got no worries at all. I think we're in a very, very good place in terms of that. I don't have any queries about anything not arriving. So I'm happy on that end of things. I will move on to catering unless anyone has any questions about infrastructure and bits for the site.
No. Catering.
So catering wise, obviously last year we had 3 different food vendors and 1 drinks refreshment stand. This year we obviously we had a breakdown meeting afterwards, and we opted to change a couple of bits about that. What I have done is I've kept the 3 hot food stands, and this year we've gone for the addition of a secondary bar, which is one of the things that a lot of us mentioned. Speaking of the secondary bar, we did want to try and do that as a dedicated ale and cider, so like proper camera style drink to go alongside with the music festival, as you see in most places. Unfortunately, we weren't able to quite deliver that how we wanted to, in terms of like when we've had the beer weekend in the arts centre, we were originally talking about putting it on ourselves. Staffing wise just meant that wasn't possible this year, so we reached out to a couple of local breweries. They're interested in giving us the equipment to be able to do it, but they're not interested in helping us actually provide it. So again, that was a no option. So I went back to our supplier from last year, and I put out the offer of, would you like to supply a second bar? Here's what we've spoken about with the councillors and in our meetings. Can you provide it? And they've agreed to do it. So we have got, let me just pull up the email. Sorry, bear with me. I didn't have that one prepared. We have got, so there'll be a set. So last year we had the Deca bar from Scott Jameson, and he's providing that again, same as last year. So with the review of how things went on the Friday, and then they changed it to catch up with the service in demand is one of the issues that obviously we said, and they resolved that last year, and they're going to continue with that same process going forwards. And then the secondary, he's going to be doing a different themed vehicle, which will be offering real ales, cider and soft drinks. The cider is apparently coming from Nevergate, and the ales have not yet been decided yet, but there is a choice of 4, and he will let me know as soon as they've come together. There's a choice of 4 different ones for this year. Actually, looking at the email, it looks like he has gone for Nevergate as his main supplier. So it's Stour Valley Gold, Suffolk County, Old Growler, Adventure. They're all Nevergate ales by the looks of things. Local brewery in Long Melford. Yes, Laura, sorry.
No lie.
Sorry, yeah, it just took me a minute to unmute on this. So just a couple of things. I assume you will have tried Wild Sky, the one in Linton, you know?
I'm not entirely sure, because I asked the person who manages the bar here to reach out to the different breweries before, so I delegated that job.
I would
originally
recommend sort of for next year or whatever, making sure they do ask Wild Sky, because they're very local and usually up for kind of doing things like that. But also, just what are we doing for the bars with regards to glasses, cups, whatever? Like, what are they going to be made of?
At this stage at the moment, I think again it will be the disposable plastics at the moment. One thing I know where this is potentially going, and one thing that I would like to do in future, it would be great to get some of the reusable, like, branded cups, so we could get some Hippie Fest cups. That would be something that would be really nice to do in future. But for this year,
I mean, if we're putting it on every year, then if we get ones that don't say the year on them, then it's something that, you know, can be used every time, and do that, like, you know, people pay a deposit or whatever, like at beer festivals, and they can return them or keep them. But I mean, in the meantime, this year, can we please just at least get some recyclable plastic cups if we're going to go that way?
I think they all are able to go into recycling. I will double check, and I'll find out on that one. Okay,
thanks.
Colin?
I think we probably ought to say it out loud from the very beginning. It is with huge regret that the compliance levels for recycling by the general public at events only requires a handful of people to throw the wrong thing into the wrong bin and contaminate all the waste. We know from the outset that none of the plastics will be recycled at the event. West Suffolk won't even try, because they already know. And to be fair, having run so many of these events, I know it's true. And it's why within the Arts Centre, I've always said that we as staff can recycle a very, very high percentage. But unfortunately, if we left it to the customers, the contamination rates would go through the roof. It's very, very difficult to get any plastic recycled. You know, glass is a different matter altogether, but of course we can't allow glasses actually in the show. I think it's not.
Remember about the moon and the banana.
We could all sit here and talk about the wonders of recycling, but I don't want to in any way mislead councillors. The fact is, the recycling stuff last year was all contaminated, and we all know it's going to be again this year. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
A lot. Come back on that, Anna Ceci.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about being unmuted then when I was talking about a moon and a banana. My apologies.
Right.
I was listening though to you, Colin. There is a really simple solution to this, but it does involve obviously a bit more effort on the side of, whoever's there, which is to have the recycling behind the bars or in another place, or in a little town council stall thing, and just ask people, please give us your recycling, and that way we can make sure that it's only recycling that goes in there. And I am happy to volunteer to come and go around collecting people's recycling, and I would be perfectly happy to sort of take that on and at least get some of it recycled. Obviously it doesn't prevent people from putting the recyclable cups in the normal waste bin, but if we had dedicated recycling bins that the public couldn't access, then we could at least get quite a big chunk of recycling done.
Steve, is it possible to get a recycling bin I think we'd probably have to take it back to the Arts Centre, because if we left it with everything else, it would be thrown in the general waste anyway by West Suffolk as soon as they collected it. But is there any kind of practicality about that? Obviously, Laura's hit the nail on the head. It's about people. If you have somebody actually standing guard, then the recycling compliance rates increase very, very rapidly.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why I'd like to think very good attempt last year didn't go to plan. Obviously, Laura, if you came down last year, you may remember that we actually had dual wheelie bins. We had black and blue wheelie bins on site, and we really did give it a good go. But unfortunately, as Colin was explaining, West Suffolk, when they were picking the rubbish up, they were looking for it and they were going, it's too contaminated, and they just put it all into one. Now, obviously, to get a good spread of waste bins around the site, it requires having quite a few ready to go. And that if you're going to then man it to try and enforce people to put your recycling in here and put your general waste in here, that's more and more people that you need by the bin points. Now, one compromise to that could be what you just suggested about we could have a recycling bin where we have a designated recycling point. So, for example, say I do go back to Decker Bar and ask them if their plastics are recyclable, and they say yes, we could push the thing of please recycle your drink receptacles. There is a recycling point at the town council welcome tent or something. I don't know, that's one potential way round it. I don't know how many people obviously would engage with it, but that could be one compromise that we could have on that.
Okay, I've got Councillor Lucarini wants to ask Laura. Going to be quick.
I just wanted to reiterate that I would be happy to try and improve the sort of rates of that. I would be perfectly happy to go round. Remind me of the dates of this. I do have them, but can you just remind me?
It's the 18th to the 20th of August.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I am not around the whole time, but on the 18th I would be happy, and at the end of the 20th I would be happy to just go around and say to people, oh, is that recycling, and try and collect people's recycling. Perfectly happy to do that, which might increase the rates of it a bit.
Before going to Councillor Lucarini, there might be a benefit of actually looking at the type of things that West Suffolk provide, because all they do is just give you big boxes, basically big blue or black boxes, and anyone can chuck anything in there. You go into somewhere like McDonald's, they've got special things where you put a cup into or a can into, whatever, and people can't, not often anyway, physically put a burger box into that round hole. Let me go on to
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, Councillor Lucarini.
Although it sounds like a good idea, my only comment would be West Suffolk still expect recycling to be clean and dry. So it's how, if we're collecting up all these beer cups, someone's got to wash them out and then make sure they're dry before they go into a bin. Otherwise, West Suffolk will still just put them into landfill.
Well, they don't go to landfill.
Or incinerator, sorry. Yeah, into the incinerator.
Laura?
I don't know that that is true that they would do that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't believe that most people wash their recycling in their home bins. I do, but I think the majority of people probably don't, and it's not all just going to the incinerator. Well, I hope it's not anyway. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's different if we gave them a thing only plastic cups, because I guess it might be more obvious that they hadn't been washed. But I mean, I don't know. Couldn't I just collect it all at the end and like take it to the tip or whatever to the recycling there? And then I don't know.
What happens, Laura, is when it gets to the recycling place at Blakenham, Great Blakenham, next to the incinerator, they will reject it if it's all wet or dirty, even if it's in your blue bin. And I mean, like you, I wash everything up, but it's and I leave it to dry as well. But they will reject it, and they've got a big campaign at the moment to make sure things are dry, particularly. So, Colin.
Thanks, Chair. Leave it with us. Officers will have a discussion. I think what Councillor Jones has, really kind of identified is that there will be people at the event who will want to recycle, and I think we can have a discussion here, and we kind of get it. But I don't really fancy having to explain to people why we haven't even tried, because we know it's not going to work. I think what we'll do is come up with something on a limited basis that are recycling points, so people who are determined to recycle can feel that they are actually able to recycle, as opposed to actually writing it off as an impossibility. Because I think whilst that may be the reality, it denies those people who actually really think that's important for this event that we give them an opportunity, and I don't think any of us would disagree with that.
No, that's fine.
I
Okay.
think I would suggest on that we have a limited recycling service at some point close to the town council gazebo, which we can monitor in some way, shape or form. I think the visibility should be seen to be doing something. I agree with. If there's a limited number of people who want to, rightly so, then we would look to provide that service, albeit it could be a limited service. So we could, like Colin says, we'll have a think about this the next couple of days.
Are you still want to talk, Laura?
Yes, please. Yeah. Just an idea that aside from having the sort of recycling point at the town council bit, we could also say, or have the bars say to people, return your plastics to the bar when you're done with them. And each of the bars could have a little box that they then put the plastics in. But I was also going to say, if it comes down to it and we do end up collecting this recycling and it's, not clean and it's wet or whatever, if it comes to it, I will come and collect it all and wash and dry it all and then recycle it if that's what needs to be done. So my offer is open to do whatever I can to help.
Okay, well noted. Thank you. Right, shall we go back to you, Steve? We're talking about catering. I guess you finished the refreshment side of things. Who's going to be selling soft drinks? Those same bars or
So soft drinks will be shared between obviously the bought-in mobile bar company, Decker Bar, ourselves with the splash pads, CAF, kiosk, whatever you want to refer to it to. And I think last year some of the other caterers may have had the odd can as well with them. So I believe all vendors will have some form of soft drink.
Okay.
And saying all vendors, moving on to the next vendors, obviously I've covered the drink side of things. Again, going to go with 3 hot food vendors. Only one of last year's vendors will be returning, and that's the Hit Wrap company. I've received good comments about them last year, so I received lots of good comments about them last year. They had a nice varied menu. They offered they offered alternatives for dietary requirements. So I thought they'd be a nice choice to bring back, and they've agreed to do so, and they've got the dates in their diary, and they'll be returning. New one for this year, I've approached. Sorry, Sarah.
No, go ahead, Steve.
New one for this year, I've approached VG Coffee. So that is a 100% vegan outlet, offering dietary alternatives for proper barista coffee. So like oat milk and all the different types of milk that you would do with that, including hot burritos that are completely 100% vegan, cakes and other bits and bobs like that. It's run by Tom Ross, who is obviously local person. Sorry, my brain I've been here all day, my brain just went into shutdown mode. And then the following one for the hot food, in terms of our barbecue that we had last year. You're welcome, Laura. The hot food that we had last year in terms of the barbecue, this year, our very own ladies from the kiosk and the coffee bar in the Arts Centre have expressed great interest in offering the burgers and hot dogs, which I have put 100% faith into them to be able to deliver that for us. This does mean obviously putting our own brand stall inside the festival site itself. They've managed to come up with a workaround where it is a cheaper alternative to what we had last year with Jamie's Meat In. Obviously, Jamie's Butcher's premium, and we might not get that same level straight from a butcher type thing, but it's an alternative in terms of, if instead of, one of the biggest complaints that we had last year for the event was a burger was about £10. So we're trying to come away and bring that down to a more, like a family of four could eat for less than 40 quid, if you know what I mean by that. Helen and Mel are both working on that to get that together for us. And they're in the process this week of sorting their bits out, and I'm in constant communication with them, making sure that they're happy, they've got enough staff. Does anyone have any questions or queries on us doing for our own side?
Laura? Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, this is going to sound really demanding, given that you've just told us about the amazing vegan options, but I'm just wondering if our store will have a vegan option burger-wise, because I feel like, if it's a town council thing, then as a council, we're trying to be all sort of environmentally friendly and all of that. And I feel like it doesn't send the right message if we're only offering meat options. So I would hope, if possible, if cost allows it, that we would also have some kind of vegan or at least veggie option on our one.
I did speak to Mel and Helen both about that, and said if they would offer the option. One of the difficult things is as you can appreciate, Laura, cooking veggie means you need a separate or a very good way to clean your griddle before you prepare a vegan or veggie piece of food for that dietary requirement, because obviously you don't want the same types of meat alternatives going on with the real meat. You can't do that. That's as I say, it wouldn't be right for anyone with that dietary requirement. So that does mean, if for us to try and do that, it means us having to get in more equipment or different equipment, and it's one thing that we thought, having the dedicated 100% vegan stall on site, that it was a compromise that we could get away with not having, to make it easier on our side of things. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I understand that, like, and that's totally valid to not be able to have a separate thing. The one thing I would say is that people are very divided over whether they care about things sharing a grill or whatever, and it's really like a lot of food places do it, and they just have to tell people, so they just have to make it clear with a little sign, a little sentence saying, you know, by the way, our vegetarian option is cooked on the same grill, and then that gives people the choice. Because obviously if people, you know, have sort of you know, real kind of revulsion about meat, then they're not going to do that. But if they're doing it for ethical reasons, environmental reasons, whatever, people often don't actually care if it's touched it. So it might be worth considering offering a veggie or vegan option and just having it on the sign to say we use the same grill for everything.
We can sort that. Let me go on to Councillor Lucarini.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. I have been for quite a while that this is no criticism of any of our staff, but can they really manage at this size of event cooking this amount of burgers for people? When Jamie's meeting did it, you know, they're very experienced in outside catering. That's been the core part of their business for a long time now. They brought along a lot of staff with them, which was probably one of the reasons why it was quite expensive, but a lot of staff, they worked extremely hard. They were there from early in the morning prepping. They were there all the way till late at night. They even camped on site, so they were there ready for the next day. Can we really cope in the same way they did? And they still had a queue, quite a big queue. I'm really concerned when you look at the criticism we received from the bar last year that, you know, we as an arts centre are now going to have this, well, town council are going to have this criticism directly on us, rather than before we could kind of deflect it that it was a supplier's problem. And I'd also be interested to know, you know, have we actually got the equipment? Are we having to get in lots of equipment? How are they even going to know how many burgers to buy? You know, what have we really got the experience?
I mean, I'd be also asking the question: where are we going to buy our meat from? We have a high street butchers. I hope we're maybe considering actually going to them rather than somewhere else. You know, those sort of questions we have to ask ourselves. I think, yeah, certainly if we have to buy a load of equipment in, I would have said, no, actually, no, we shouldn't be buying equipment in. There are loads of suppliers out there who can do these sort of things. But let me go back to Colin first.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, just answering your question. Yes, we need to get the equipment in because we don't have a gas griddle at the moment, so that would be an investment we'd be making in order to do the cooking, but that whoever does it is necessary that they cook on gas in any case, so we'd have then the equipment, so it's not a massive investment and we would expect to recoup all our costs on that in any case. In terms of where the burgers come from, that's obviously down to Mel to source those. Realistically, we're not going to be making hundreds and hundreds of burgers from mincemeat sourced locally. The criticism that we're responding to is that the burgers that Jamie's Meat Inn provided last year were gourmet burgers. They were lovely. People complained that they were too expensive and that there wasn't a cheaper option. So what Steve has put together is a cheaper option. So these will not be gourmet burgers. And I'm satisfied that the equipment being specified will enable Mel and her team to be able to flip burgers at a perfectly reasonable rate. Obviously, any one business there, any one concession can be a victim of its own success and have a bigger or smaller queue at any one particular time. The easiest way to have no queue at all is to charge an awful lot of money for an inferior product, and that's not what we're intending doing. So there may be a bit of a queue running, but I'm confident that Mel has the experience to put together a catering team that can cope and source ingredients to provide a price point that is realistic. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I would say that I doubt it's realistic to expect us to find an alternative in any case. I think the only reason why we've struggled before was simply because we had a very small electric griddle, and we're not doing that. There's lots of us with experience of high volume sales of burgers at big events, etc. And I'm looking at what's been organised, and I'm pretty confident that that should work perfectly well.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say about high volume sales. Nobody really knows what the sales are going to be. You know, if you've got 500 burgers you've got to cook, that's a lot of burgers to cook. And how many staff? I mean, are we in our budgetary side of things, are we allowing for all those staff costings, extra staff that we got and for cooking?
Well, we've worked out the staffing necessary. I think Mel will have 3 people going at all times. So if you queue up quite often you queue up at a burger van and there's only one person doing the work, perhaps 2. People are used to the idea that you need to wait a few minutes for burgers to be cooked, but burgers don't actually take that long to be cooked, and you don't need to cook 500 in one go. You cook them, you take the orders, you have one person taking the orders down the line and letting the person who's putting the burgers on know, so that before, you know, there are sufficient burgers going all the time. There's, you know, I don't think it's something that I'm particularly nervous about for them. It's not new for any of the people involved.
No, I mean, a gas griddle will cook about a burger in about 8 to 10 minutes, roughly.
So you always have lunchtime won't come as a surprise. We know when lunchtime is going to be.
Yeah, no,
you start cooking a few burgers, and because you can control the heat on these things, you have a bit of a float of burgers, and you start cooking additional.
Yeah, but also depends on what type of gas you're using and everything else.
Absolutely, but I mean, this is. This is not something that's sort of brand new to all of us.
I think it's quantity rather than perhaps the item.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of when I've done it before. I've been events for thousands of people, and being the sole provider of food on site. And it's you just basically make sure that you're all well set up beforehand, and it just goes. And it's going to be tiring, it's going to be exhausting, but at the end of the day, it's not actually rocket science.
Okay. No, I mean, let's try it, but it's Councillor Lucarini. It's fine.
Yeah, just on the quality of the burgers, can we make sure we don't go just for the real cheapest burgers? So there's got to be some middle ground somewhere.
Absolutely.
Cheap burgers are not nice.
I won't be doing the back in the 1980s and 90s when I was doing packet of 20 for 99p. So I think the mechanically recovered meat isn't likely to be one of the sources we're going to be using. I think we can trust Mel to get a sensible compromise, because obviously at the end of the day, what we don't want, buying 500 burgers, as Councillor Burns commented on, we don't want 499 left over because the first one tasted like whatever.
Yeah, then my only other question is, in terms of quantity, last year all the catering suppliers had to go away and restock. If we run out of burgers, have we got the ability to get more short notice? Because otherwise we're going to end up, night one we could end up without a catering stall for the other two days.
I'm confident we can do that.
It's something to definitely make sure, rather than you suddenly be a surprise that we're having to raid Tesco.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But equally, you don't want it that you end up with a couple of thousand burgers that you're not going to sell ever, and you end up throwing them away. Lauren.
Yeah, I just to say that I'm not concerned from everything Colin said. I think it sounds brilliant. I think they'll do a great job. And people absolutely expect to wait in a queue at these things. Every time I'm at any kind of event like this, the queues at the stands are always really long, and no one's getting cross about it, because that's just the way of it, isn't it? You expect to queue for food and you factor that in. So yeah, I think it sounds like it's going to be brilliant, and I'm glad we're doing it.
No. Right, can I just ask, we are shutting the kiosk?
No.
I believe that's a no.
There's just a little query to be had. And again, the devil's always in the detail. And Steve, Gary, Sarah, and I have had this conversation. We've had the conversation with Mel as well. The issue last year was that the kiosk was on the outside, isolated, and sod's law, given all that's been on in the social media and in the newspaper about opening hours of the kiosk, is that if we move obviously the burger concession will be on the inside, and we'll try and bring one of the slushy machines with us. But we have to count the electricity. And from what Steve has been describing, we're likely to be looking at, for the concessions, providing a generator for all four concessions, the 3 food and the drinks. Well, I suppose 5, because 2 drinks concessions and 3 food concessions. Simply because the mathematics, as I understand it, Steve, and you can confirm this, it's you add up the total, but also you consider everyone flicking stuff on at the same time. I can guess what Laura's going to say, but actually we're really, really, really close to somebody, 2 people deciding, or 2 people's water boilers both click on at the same time and takes a stage out. And plus the kiosk, the toilets, and everything else on site, splash pad, everything will all go. So Steve can confirm that the maths are just a bit tight on the electricity. So we're going to be able to keep the kiosk open, because we don't need to take the electricity from that building if we supplement the available electricity, have, I think, mains power to the stage and a generator, and we'll try and make it as green as we can, but a generator for the concessions, Steve. So there's very, very limited power available on that site. Last year we just about managed to squeeze it on the on-site mains. And that's one of the reasons why originally, when I was talking about us doing our own catering inside, I said to Helen and Mel, to Mel and Helen, sorry, I said, if we do that, it may be the case that we need to just do one or the other, because it requires using the power from that building. But obviously, from the discussion that we've just had, obviously we've revised that plan, and it will, as Colin said, mean that we'll need a smaller generator. But generators have come a long way in their technology, and more eco-friendly ones are much more available these days. And then that will also give us the absolute headroom of not having to worry about, are we on the limit constantly? Because I can tell you exactly from last year, looking at my sheet here, my calculation sheet, we literally had our outside availability, we're on 63 3-phase power line, and we had minus 0.4 amps remaining on live 1 and 3 amps remaining on live 2. And obviously that is right on the cusp. Live 3, because it's the toilet block we didn't use outside. Actually, if everything, like the splash pad was running and the toilets were all running, everything at the same time is actually way over its limit. So that one we didn't touch. So yeah, that's the justification for why we would need to bring in the extra.
And sorry to interrupt, my own experience is that you should always have 30% spare.
Yes, that is absolutely correct, John. Yeah. Sorry, Chair.
How much was left? It wasn't anywhere near 30%. It wasn't even
About
1%.
0.1% or something, yeah, or one of them.
Yeah, our total so remember I said it was a 63.3 phase. Our total production use last year was 52 amp, 65 amp, and then 11 on the one that basically didn't have anything on it.
Yeah. Laura?
Yeah, I mean, Colin and Steve both knew what I was going to say just about the generator, about what type it is. I do think it's really important, like obviously the kind of old, diesel generators or whatever had such a huge environmental cost. And I would like it to be I would like it to be a decision that we definitely have an eco-friendly generator, even if there's more financial cost, because financial costs can be recouped, but environmental cost, you can't undo it. And I mean, obviously these events are amazing, but we're at a point in sort of climate change where we can't just keep ignoring the impact that our actions have.
Okay, well noted. Yeah. Okay, Steve, anything else on your side?
I would just like to touch on Aaron's concerns as well. And like some others have shown. When I spoke about this and put this forward, like talking about the kiosk and us doing our own catering, I didn't just go, let's do it. I sat down and I had a conversation, and I made sure that Mel was absolutely happy. Mel and her team was absolutely happy before we said yes to doing this. I would never have put them in the deep end like that, because obviously it is, as you were saying, it's long hours, it's stressful days doing that side of thing. So we looked at the options before we said yes, let's give it a go. And I've got faith in them. You don't know unless you try these things. You don't know. Yeah, could be a risk, but if we don't do it, we never know, do we? So I believe in them, and I think we'll be fine. We have had some demo products that they've got in to try for them as well. I think Gary's tried one of them. I had one yesterday, and they are, from your concerns about the product quality as well. It was I enjoyed what I had yesterday. It was very nice.
Yeah, Aaron, Capital King.
Yeah, obviously, I hope it's a success. I really do. It's just when you have a business running something, they're taking the risk. Whereas this time we're taking a lot of the risk on, well, all of the risk on.
Of course.
If we're doing slightly differently, I'd probably have said try it, but add a fourth food stall on just so it spreads the load a little further. But hopefully it works.
I hope so. Yeah, it's and obviously it's something else. If we get this bang on as well, we could see a little bit of return on it as well to help go towards the event costs.
Yeah, equally we don't want a massive loss either, of course.
No,
as Aaron says, it's the risk. Yeah, I think it's just it's far too late to change things anyway. So my only concern, I think, is perhaps as a working group, maybe this should have been something we discussed earlier in this, so we didn't have these concerns now. But I appreciate equally that there wasn't actually a decision to go ahead again this year until February, January. When did we do budget? January, wasn't it? And I know you and I have spoken, Steve, about, like most of these things, Glastonbury's already been for next year, has already been working on for the last year. I know we're not talking about Glastonbury yet, although I'm not so we're going to get 200,000 people, but anyway, I wonder whether we need to start thinking about it, and and take some of the stress off yourself, and make sure that the load is spread somehow. But anything else on Haverhill Park from anyone?
Can I just flag something?
Yeah, sure, can I?
Yeah, can I just touch on, as I've got to go to my second job shortly, can I just touch on staffing wise? We're looking pretty good. The security is all secured. Medical provision is secured. I've been doing the rotas like I did last year. We're completely covered for Friday. We have a number of places left on across the Saturday and the Sunday. That's not to say that we can't operate. We always operate on a kind of a, I don't want to say an overkill, but we always have a couple of extra spaces, extra people always to kind of make sure that we're not running on kind of a knife edge. So we're doing quite well across the whole of the weekend for stewarding. It would be nice to have a few more volunteers. That is basically the one thing that would be that we're kind of sitting on now. We've got a number of volunteers from various organisations. I've got a volunteer from Jill and the Volunteer Centre. There's obviously a number of counsellors, but would be good if we could fill those last few places. You know, doubling up on the exit gates, doubling up on various places around, having someone to oversee the toilet block and all those kind of small little jobs. If we can, if anyone knows of anyone else who's wishing to come along and help us out, I think that is where we're at with staffing wise. Other than that, it's 95, 98% almost done. I just want to let everyone know that.
Right. I think it's probably time that we put out another shout out to Joe Public to ask if anyone's interested in helping out, even for a couple of hours.
It would be good. We've got loads of people on. We had last year. We've got a lot of the same names.
I know, but we are a little bit short. But I think
Yeah,
let's see if anyone else is willing to help us.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's only a month or so to go. We're not talking about when I put it out 3 or 4 months ago. People.
Yeah. If we could give another shout out, and if we get a couple of people, but there's enough to staff. We don't need to pay for the extra staffing that we paid for last year on Saturday.
No, that's fine. No, it's very few extra people be handy.
It's just dotting the I's, ticking the T type business, having a few extra bodies on site. So
well, it allows for people also going sicker the last time or anything, you know.
Yeah, and it also allows us to have that contingency. Yeah, absolutely.
And before I go to Laura, Steve.
Just touching on that as well, I also recently reached out to the a little while back now, but I reached out to the Air Cadets as to whether they could give us any assistance over the weekend. For the particular thing that I asked them for, unfortunately, it isn't possible. However, they have said if we need any help with some marshalling, to get in contact. And I did speak to Gary about that the other day, and I'm going to put them in contact.
Yep, it would be good to have those. We can certainly find a place for them, the Air Cadets, across the site. Be very good.
Yeah, Laura.
Just to say that I am happy to volunteer when I'm here. I'm away sort of most of Saturday and Sunday morning, but the problem is that the times that I'm here, I have Cal and I can bring him with me, but I don't know if there's kind of issues sort of with that, with me like doing a job with a 7-year-old with me or not. But if it's not an issue, then I'm happy to do it. That's just the only thing that's, you know, I don't know if that's okay or not.
That'd be down to Gary. Yes,
I think I wouldn't want to contravene any kind of, you know, legislations or anything. So like I said, we've got enough to open up the gates. We've got enough staff. It's just about a few extra bodies just to help out where required, really. So it's not desperate. Yeah. It's just if people have the time that we know, that would be great.
I'm happy to be there anyway and lend a hand, you know, in an unofficial capacity if needed, if that would help. So, cool. I mean, I will be there. I will be there Friday, and I will be there later on the Sunday too. So,
all right, thank you.
If anything, I'm sure you've all got my number, and grab me if you see me.
Yeah. Okay. It might be worthwhile also when we're going out for public, just dropping an email to all the councillors again, and just say we've got these things. You know, we could do with a couple of extra heads on a Saturday or Sunday, whatever.
Cool, will do.
That'd be great. Okay, nothing else, I don't think. Yeah, sorry. Lovely, Steve. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Oh, sorry, Alan.
What was the third food store? Did you mention it?
Sorry, yes. So, in terms of the food store, yeah. So it's us, Hip Wrap, returning from last year. And
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've got Hip Wrap. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I thought they were the easy one because obviously they went down quite well last year.
But yeah, thanks, Steve. I know you've got to get off.
Thanks, Steve.
No problem at all. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate your time. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Great job.
Thank you.
Right, let's move on quickly to item 8, which is the rest of the community events. Starting with a big day out. Sarah.
Okay, big day out. Sorry, just flipping through my paperwork. Yep, so we've got a climbing wall, an obstacle course, a couple of face painters, the Buffy bus, some go-karts, speed shot, which I can't quite remember what that is, but it's a sort of a fairground attraction thing. 2 side stalls, which will be like coconut shies and something else, which I can't actually remember, but it will be for the smaller children. A batak attraction and a demolition zone. We've also got Naomi Sherwood doing some pottery.
Yeah.
And a number of stalls, Essex Radio, the Suffolk Archive are bringing a mobile bus thing about the Tudors.
Okay.
Get Suffolk Reading, Leading Lives, Memories of Gold. I'm not reading them all out, I'm just picking some out. Riverside Kangol Foyer. One thing I have found about the big day is that big day out is that people are going, oh, we can't come because it's a Wednesday and we can't get the volunteers, and it's been a little sorry, Laura's just sent me a funny message about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer bus. That people have said that it's difficult to get their staff and volunteers to come along on a Wednesday. So it's been a little bit hard work trying to get local organisations to come along.
But what day did they want?
Well, the Saturdays work better for them because of their working people. So it's all about getting people to come along. That's just
It's the first year we're trying this all in a week job, isn't it?
Yeah, so when they're doing it with the Chalkston and the Clements and the big day out, so I think it's just a little bit too much all in one week for people.
Big day has always been on Wednesday.
It has. I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing or what, but it just seems a little bit hard work to get people interested.
Okay. And anybody? I don't want to go into each of these individually, but unless anyone shouts, you just want to carry on, then thanks.
Yeah, okay. So we're pretty much good on all the staffing for these, aren't we, Gary?
Yep, staffing is looking good. Again, with the staffing, again, we've got the core staff involved. We've got obviously the extended team. But if anybody wants to volunteer again, we're not going to turn you away. We've always got jobs to do on site, such as manning car parks and tidying up and joining queues and so on and so on. So again, the shout out extends across all of the summer events, not just Haverhill in the park.
So picnic in the park, as we discussed at the last meeting, it didn't work particularly well for East Town Park in terms of their rangers, but we think we've reached a compromise with Christine where she's going to get some extra people in. And we've got the same sort of stuff, giant twisters, basketball, axe throwing, some pottery, some colouring in, some hoops, a junk percussion workshop. Now, Clements is a little bit of a bijou event because of the size of the site and because it doesn't get the passing traffic like Chalkston would by Tesco's and the railway walk. So they've got a few things. We've got a creepy crawly workshop coming there, some bouncy castles. And Jacqueline Lowry from Chalkston Community Centre's got loads of people involved in her event, and that's going swimmingly.
Okay.
I've weaved in the Mutiny and Co workshops, which I sent just earlier.
Yeah.
So not all of the budget is coming from the community budget is coming from the Mutiny and Colour budget.
Yeah.
So that's all that. Halloween, there's not much movement on Halloween. I've been in touch with Julia Child Agency, and they're putting together a package for me, or a proposed package, but I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay.
Um,
And where are
and
they
then-
from? Where are they from?
Julia Child, I can't remember where they're from, but we've used them before,
Oh, have we? Okay.
but not. That was sort of prior to the Joe Peacock days.
Okay.
And then Christmas, we're in very, very early talks with Sharon from West Suffolk about doing maybe a Victorian themed Christmas do, which would be on the Market Square and Queen Street.
Yeah.
It would be sort of a little bit, this is not the right word, but a little bit classier than the slightly down at heel fairground rides we had last year.
I spoke to Sharon last week before. Oh, I can't remember what it was. And explained what was going on because she was concerned about the main market being able to get off the high street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. I know what you spoke to me the other day. There's no plans for a fun fair as we normally have. I've lost you again. There you are. You're going traditional type session.
Yeah, more of a coconut shy, helter skelter. What are they called? The swing boats.
Yeah, those things. Yeah,
Sort of
wooden sort of stuff.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Laura, Councilman Jones.
Yeah, hi. I love the idea of Victorian, Dickensian sort of Christmas thing. I feel like that'll feel a lot more Christmassy. And I just thought a lot of kids they have like Victorian Day at school where they dress up as Victorians. So a lot of kids sort of will have vaguely Victorian outfits. And I just wonder if we could encourage the public to sort of dress as Victorians. Obviously the majority wouldn't, but I thought that might be quite nice if it was a bit of a kind of Kentwelly type thing, you know, where we tried to kind of make it really Victorian. It just might be really fun. People might really enjoy it.
Looks like I've got to get my top hat and tails out, haven't I? Yeah. Well, no, I've got top hat and tails, but anyway. Okay, that's great. Anything on any of the summer and events going on all the way up to Christmas from anybody? No, all quiet on the Western Front, as I say. Thank you for that, Sarah. Obviously, as I said before, I said to Steve, if there's any help that we can give, just shout. Obviously, as Gary says, we're looking for volunteers, which I've already put my hand up, and I think Aaron has as well. I'm sure Councillor Davidson will probably put his hand up as well if he's around. Right, so should we call out an evening then and just say the date next meeting is Tuesday, 10th of October. And obviously anything prior to that, we can all get together, talk to one another or whatever else you want to do. Did you want to say anything, Colin, or not? You look like you are.
No,
that's
that's
fine.
all good.
Okay, I just got that twinkle in your eye sort of thing, you know. Right.